When I share my story, it's about more than building an inspirational space for artists. I represent the creative spirit of the nation, the Choctaw Nation.
I am our past.
I am our present.
I am our future.
I am all of us. When we share, we become one.
Because our stories make us more.
Stories keep our culture alive.
See them and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
It's called Hollywood. Lights, camera, action. Hollywood Brown. CeeDee Lamb still running. It's a corner. CeeDee for the TD.
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast, and we're all excited because OU won the Super Bowl on Saturday. So, yay! The season's over. OU did it. John Mateer did it. Brent Venables did it. But they've got a big game on the road against Temple in Philadelphia. Do they play college football in Philadelphia? Well, we're going to find out in a few days as the Sooners travel to Jalen Hurts land and Lane Johnson land to go play the Temple Owls after their big win over the Michigan Wolverines. And we will put some final touches on that win. As our patrons know, two of us were able to be on the No Cap recap. The other two, we need to get their thoughts as well on the big win the Sooners had over the weekend. But without further ado, I am Brady Trantham. Again, welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast. With me, as mostly always, except for last week where he was noticeably absent, Mr. Matt Burton has returned from the land of trees, Nike, hippies, weed, anything else. Yeah, whatever else is up there.
The city of roses is what they said up there. So there you go.
Oh, is it Rip City?
Rip City.
Rip City. And I appreciated your Instagram comment from your little photo collage of the trip you've had. You did not die of dysentery on the Oregon Trail. That was
I did not die of dysentery. So that was I count that as a win, to be honest with you. But no, Portland, absolutely awesome. I loved it a lot, and then went out to a wedding on the seaside Cannon Beach area. Cannon Beach was cool because that's where part of the Goonies was filmed. Where they stick up,
nice.
They stick up the doubloon, right, and that's the haystack rock that's there. So got some pictures of that. It was pretty awesome, man. But I do want to say thank you to you guys, not only for carrying on the show and doing a great job, but my whole day back on Sunday was just traveling. It was, just multiple flights, and I downloaded the podcast before I left. The post game stuff. Brady Peyton did a great job on that. So shout out to the patreon.com/through the keyhole for all of our post games. But so that kept me entertained. I did listen to our guys over there at West of Everest, their post game pod as well. So just a little free shout out there for our guy Lee and Grant Benson. And Lee's just so damn handsome. So I had to watch it all the way through. So no, man, thank you guys for doing that. I got to watch bits and pieces of the game during the wedding because it was right when the wedding was when the game started. So I watched the entire fourth quarter, which was really just OU driving the ball. So that was awesome. But obviously on Monday, watched the entire game back. So, but no, shout out to you guys for killing it on the post game.
Good.
Hey, Matt, I gotta ask you a quick question. Was it real foggy or smoky around there from the fires that were raging in Eugene from
my God.
From what was going on at Alton Stadium?
I felt bad because there were a lot of Oklahoma State people on our flight, obviously back to Oklahoma City and from Portland. It was I didn't even want to ask them questions. I was just like, I know how you're feeling. I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask at all. Yeah, we had a Oklahoma State fan that was getting after us today because we were talking about OU and Michigan and how John Mateer was looking, pretty good. We didn't say anything crazy. We're not like, oh man, he's going to be the first overall pick and he's going to win the Heisman, do all this stuff. We weren't saying that. We were just like, yeah, he played pretty good against Michigan. And Oklahoma State fan just pops in being like, well, OU, just know that Michigan's terrible and Oregon would just beat the daylights out of OU. I'm like, dude, that came out of nowhere. First off, I was like, but I know two things about the OU Michigan game and the Oregon State game is neither game was as close as the final score was. So that was not 69-3 close. Oregon could have scored 100 if they wanted to. It was so bad.
2 back-to-back pick sixes.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it was. It was ugly. We might talk about old Mike Gundy towards the end of the show. But Matt, you kind of mentioned it. Well, Alan, you lent your voice already, so say hi to the people.
Oh, hey, yeah, what's up, y'all?
It's Alan Kinney. Go check out keyholepod.com for his post-game thoughts if you want to see it in the written form, and his weekly column, Blatant Homerism. Go check that out. It's the free website. And then the fourth horseman, Mr. Peyton Guthrie, who apparently made it back safe from central Oklahoma back down to the SEC portion of the state in Durant. Peyton, how we doing?
Doing really well. Doing really, really well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you for attending this mandatory
First
podcast.
time, long time. Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, everybody, we're in good spirits. It seems that way. It never fails. OU wins a game. OU wins a big game. And like Matt mentioned, those post-game podcasts just boom, boom. They just roll out. Whenever they suck, whenever it's a disaster like last year, those podcasts were, I mean, at least from our end, some of those were like popping out late Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Cause it's like, I don't want to talk about what we just saw last night. I don't like, why? I want to move forward with my life and watch the Miami Dolphins. Oh, oh, yeah. So they tanked for Tua, and now they're going to just tank. Yeah, with Tua. So there you go.
How are you going to feel whenever their quarterback room is Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers?
Why would you say that to me?
I'm so sorry.
Why would you do that?
I'm this close to the edge right now.
There was a point where I thought maybe DJ Lagway, and then last Saturday I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
no, thank you, absolutely not. Give me the dude from South Florida. Anyway. As you all know, it's Through the Keyhole, an Oklahoma football podcast. Go check out homefieldapparel.com. They are the exclusive apparel sponsor for Through the Keyhole. I was just previously sitting on Matt Burton's long sleeve t-shirt from Home Field that they were very gracious enough to give us a box that we all kind of just said, I got that one. And then we all, we're happy with what we got. I mean, Peyton, is that the thing that you're rocking right now? Is that your
yes.
Is that your podcast uniform?
Yeah.
The hoodie?
The podcast. Yeah, all the way.
And Alan, you're wearing something red. It doesn't look, I mean, you're on brand, but.
Ish. I mean, it's Under Armour, so.
Oh, man.
Well, you are where it needs to be. That DC area. You got to.
That's
whatever.
true.
If
Kevin Plank style.
fell flat. Yeah.
You have to literally wear armor if you're going to walk around in DC from what I've been told. Yeah. But anyway, don't forget about the Can't Miss Kickoff Tour this Saturday. If you intend on going to the game in Philadelphia, if you want to have like a little mini vacation, go up to is Pennsylvania, I mean, is it considered New England or no? Is
No.
But it's one of the 13 original colonies.
That doesn't make it New England. Yeah, no.
What makes
so was South Carolina.
What constitutes New England?
Yeah, Georgia.
What constitutes New England?
I would say like north of Connecticut or something like that. I don't know. My geography's pretty bad.
Yeah, so nothing college football wise. Okay, so if it's the further away you get from college football, you're in New England now. There is a New England. But yeah, the Can't Miss Kickoff Tour this Saturday. Pop-up stores from Home Field Apparel in Philadelphia. On Friday, it's the Boomer Sooner Happy Hour at the Garage Rittenhouse from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then on Saturday, we got the OU Alumni Tailgate at Xfinity Live from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. because it is noon kickoff local time, 11 a.m. kickoff for us down here in God's country. So excited for all that. If you're going to go up there, if you're going to go up to the game, go show up to Home Field's pop-up stuff. And hey, send us some selfies on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. We've got all the social channels. So go follow us there at Keyhole Pod or Through the Keyhole. Just type it in, whatever social media channel you're using. follow us, help us out. We would greatly appreciate that. And also shout out to our other lovely, lovely, beautiful sponsors, the Spirit Shop in Norman, Kaizen Performance Gym in Norman, and the Choctaw Nation. And don't forget to leave us 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you can also, on Spotify, leave comments after every episode. And we've been, like I've mentioned a handful of times, we've had a pretty consistent flow of comments, and we greatly appreciate the discourse and the questions and keeping us honest. And if we say something idiotic, let us know. It's mostly me, so just let me know if I say something stupid. But let us move forward, because OU downed the Michigan Wolverines. And you know what, guys? I've never seen a game go from universal, this is a big game, Brent Venables, don't you screw this up, to OU wins it, and then it just scatters to the 4 wins of people either maintained that, I feel like, hey, like, he won a big game. Congratulations, Brent Venables. Here are your flowers, but now, like, the task at hand, move forward. That's a very good start. And then there are other people who are like, Michigan sucked. They suck. And so it's like, you almost want to penalize OU because of all the mistakes they made. And instead of beating them 24-13, they should have beat them 38-10 or something like that. So it was actually a bad showing by the Oklahoma Sooners. It's all over the place, guys. So, Alan, you put out your thoughts in the written form, but obviously not being on No Cap Recap for our patrons through the Keyhole or patreon.com/through the Keyhole, where you can always hear the post-game pod exclusively and only there. Now that we've had a handful of days in between that victory and now, Alan, I mean, what is that game kind of meant to you in terms of what this team is so far in this young season?
Well, to back up, last week when we were giving our picks for this game, I was in the 20-17. I thought it was going to be really tight, type range. But then I watched more of Michigan and New Mexico from the week before, and I didn't see a way that Michigan would be able to move the ball consistently on OU. So, I mean, it really kind of started playing out the way, it's pretty much from the jump, honestly, watching it last week. So, at that point, I was somehow, though, more impressed with OU's defensive dominance than I expected. I mean, there was no daylight anywhere for Michigan, throughout the game. You can point to essentially one bust on a long run play. Other than that, I mean, in some cases, OU kind of handed Michigan points. And so, I mean, I kind of look at it though, and I was reminded kind of Greg, but before the 2014 NFL draft, I remember, Greg Cosell, who's the NFL Films analyst, going on talking about what kind of team should draft Johnny Manziel, right? And his whole argument was basically, if you have a great defense in the NFL and you put a playmaking quarterback together with it, that's a great formula for winning games. And his point being, we think of defensive coaches as these run-oriented dudes, right? Mm-hmm. But if you've got a defense that can erase a lot of mistakes, or erase, some of the negative plays that a gunslinger, like a guy like Manziel would make, you can, it's actually a pretty good formula because you can just build around kind of the one guy. I kind of feel like we're looking at that right now with OU at this point in time. And the defense's dominance against Michigan gave me actually a lot of, kind of just more confidence kind of going forward for this team.
Are you ready for the new era of sports in Oklahoma? Want to be ready for some real Southern football? Kaizen Performance in Norman, Oklahoma is your spot for physical and mental growth. By empowering a lifestyle of constant, continuous improvement, Kaizen Performance's gym experience lends itself from the experienced training fanatics to those who want to make a positive change in their lives and everyone in between. Come see their new location at 158 Armstrong Court in Norman, Oklahoma. With experienced trainers who understand that every client has individual desires and needs, in-person and online customized training programs and nutrition plans, Kaizen Performance has everything to offer for you to meet your goals. Again, their new location is 158 Armstrong Court, Norman, Oklahoma, 73071. Seriously, Brady works out there, and so does Peyton when he comes to home games. Come work out with us and get ready for the week-to-week grind of real Southern football. Kaizen Performance, Norman's own local gym where your goals are a workout away.
No question. It was the first test. It was the first test for the defense. Like, are you physical? Can you handle a team that's going to try to come into your house and say, we're bigger, stronger, tougher than you are? It was a test for Brent Venables because, as we've laid out in the last handful of episodes or anything we've written, put out, Brent has essentially had 4 or 5 true big games in his head coaching career at OU, and he's not necessarily knocked it out of the park in a number of those games. And it was a big test for him in that regard. It was a big test for him as the head coach and defensive coordinator. And it was a big test for, what conversations have we had all offseason about John Mateer? Yeah, he looks good, but can he do this against insert teams here instead of what he did in the Pac-2, Mountain West, whatever schedule he was actually playing? So, it was that first test. OU is not saying, we're not going to sit here and say they're going to win a national championship, but they knocked it out of the park in a lot of those tests and a lot of those respects. So it's hard to feel good. But now, Matt, with what you were able to see and what you've been able to gather in the days since, is there anything else about the game that kind of really was eye-opening to you, surprising to you? Did something get doubled down? Did you think, I tend to think that this is already good, but this was really a very good showing that really hammered it home for me? What kind of jumped out to you?
Yeah, I think, as Alan said, the defense, specifically the defensive line, man, it just that was a really, really great performance. David Stone, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams, all on the interior, I thought played awesome. R. Mason Thomas had himself a good game despite being held every other play, dude. They were just all over R. Mason Thomas, just making sure that he didn't. But it was just, when you go down the line and it's almost quarter by quarter, someone else on that defense is making a big play. Kendall Daniels kind of got everything started. Marvin Jones Jr. Got him started a little bit. Then towards the end of the game, Owen Heineke gets a pass broken up on a third down. Gets I wouldn't say not a sack, but it was just tackled Bryce Underwood for a loss on little zone read RPO, whatever it was. It just the names, the depth that they have on defense, man. And I was very skeptical coming into this year, just of this defense is going to be better than what they were last year. I'm man, they're losing Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman's starting for the Falcons right now. Danny Stutzman playing a big role for the Saints. Ethan Downs as well. Throw him in there as a guy that was important to what they did last year. I was yeah, if you tell me they're around the same, they kind of reached where they're at, that I can buy that. But this group taking another step, being that much better than they were last year. I know they had some, difficulties last year, but so I wasn't buying it. I know it's only been 2 weeks. Who knows how good Michigan is on offense? But this was just an important game for me. For everyone. I think this was everyone's you need to win Michigan. You got to get the fans back into it and everything. Need it to be a good performance. And almost everything outside of special teams to me is just. That was awesome. Mateer obviously has shit to him. He is a gamer 100%. Deion Burks, man, if this is the Deion Burks that OU is going to get, feel really good about that. And then, goddamn, I thought that the Friday before the Illinois State game, we put out to our listeners hey, give us some predictions, right? They don't have to be bold predictions for the season, but just give us some predictions. We want to hear where you guys' heads at. So many people were Jaren Kanak, 1,000-yard season incoming. And I was you guys are on crack. You guys need to you guys need to slow your roll. And now just so many people hitting me up on our show today of like, hey, where are we at on Jaren Kanak, Matt? I'm like, all right.
Hell yeah.
Hey, listen, I'll be the first one to gladly say, hey, I was wrong. If Jaren Kanak has 1,000 yards receiving this season, I'll be the first one to say, hand up. Did not see that coming. That's my bad. But Jaren Kanak, man, he's a weapon, dude. He's an absolute weapon out there.
Absolutely. We've like the Michigan game was kind of confirmation for a lot of questions that we had about this team, specifically on offense. And unfortunately, not all those questions were answered with like glowing reviews because Jaden Ott exists on this team, but maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, Matt, you're right. It was a celebration of a lot of the hype that OU got, a lot of the praise that OU got, which was interesting for a 6-7 team that was truly awful, over this past offseason. It seems like a lot of that hype and praise was well-founded, at least for now. And look, again, we're not going to sit here and say that OU beat Michigan, therefore they're going to like chase number 8. But if you had 8-4 or 9-3 or better in your Sooner minds in this offseason, then for that to happen, they had to go beat Michigan, and they did it in fairly dominant fashion. So that's a good thing. It's okay to be satisfied, because while I'm happy and satisfied with what I saw, there are still questions and tests on the horizon. And am I confident that Brent and OU are going to do it? Not 100%, but this was a very good start. Peyton, to just echo that, we knocked this all out on Sunday, but has anything changed now that I don't want to say the surprise factor of how OU played. It wasn't necessarily surprising. You almost were 100% correct on your score prediction, but the further away we got from this game, has anything have you come back down to earth in some respects, like evaluating whether it be the offense, the defense, the overall capability of the team, performance of the team, anything changed, or do you even feel a little bit better?
I picked OU to go 8-4, and I had them starting off 5-0. So nothing's changed. For me personally, the only thing that can change for me from my mindset, because I was actually thinking of this question today when I was in CVS buying some Epsom salt because my body feels like it's breaking in half. Was like, I was asking myself, what would cause it to change? And what would cause it to change would be if Oklahoma is able to handle Auburn the way they handled Michigan, right? If they're partly in that is if they can clean up the self-inflicted mistakes. If they go out there, and the thing is, I think Auburn and Michigan are very much so a similar team. I think Auburn has a more talented roster from head to top to bottom. They have a defensive line that will push Oklahoma the exact same way. They've got an offensive line which should be able to push Oklahoma to a stalemate at times. They're a little bit inversed, right? Bryce Underwood has all the potential in the world. Everyone's ready to make every excuse for him, and nor should there be excuse. Actually, I'm reading more online about how Moore should be fired because he's, Underwood's not like a Heisman candidate already. But they don't have the skill weapons. Auburn has a plethora of skill weapons, but we know who their quarterback is. So that to me is how you can handle that. And even then, I would say Oklahoma's defensive profile is stopping the run and getting after the quarterback. My perceived weakness to them is in the secondary. If what we're believing out of Austin is true, they potentially won't face a real passing attack to Ole Miss, Tennessee. So, I don't know if they're ever really going to be tested in a way that could keep them from doing the things that we think they can. That's where it is. So after the Auburn game, I may reevaluate where I stand, but I had them 8-4. I had them starting 5-0. So it's not too surprising on my side. To me, it's more surprising. Everyone is now giving Mateer his flowers and stuff, even though he's pretty much the exact same quarterback he was last year at Washington State. So nothing's too much has changed about him. He's just doing it for Oklahoma.
Well, the thing about Mateer though, there were every podcast I listened to, was saying he struggled against better competition last year, which I found some kind of dubious, but I was willing to entertain that idea. You can't really make that argument now. I mean, he's not a product of the Mountain West Conference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember hearing some stuff like that too, Alan, on national podcasts that I would listen to. And I would honestly try to watch some of his games against that better competition with that in mind. And it was no doubt going to bias my opinion because I went into watching some of those games with that thought. And yet I kind of came away with like, no, he kind of rises to the occasion. He just plays for Washington fucking State. he ain't got dudes around him. He plays well. Does he make mistakes in these games? Well, of course he does, because I mean, Baker Mayfield made mistakes in games. Kyler Murray made mistakes. Like, these guys aren't perfect. And for every game or two that you can remember from Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, where they were damn near perfect. Yeah, that was like sandwiched between a game where they might have had an interception or two or a fumble or got the offense rolling pretty late, like after a 3-and-out, on the road. It's just, I thought it was kind of silly to have that opinion because to me, it was very clear that from a general standpoint, John Mateer just rises to the occasion. He just played for Washington State, so he should have better talent, players, teammates around him to maybe mask a few of his flaws. And look no further than the pass he threw that really should have been a touchdown to Keontez Lewis if he had put a little bit of air on it down the seam. But it was almost picked off straight up. But the guy tipped it up in the air to himself, and Isaiah Satania knocked it out of his hands. And that is just a tiny little minute example of John Mateer is on a team with better talent around him, because at Washington State, that's probably picked off. Because does he have is his fourth option at receiver going to be able to make a play and break up that pass? It was a weird kind of bang play, but that to me was very symbolic of like, oh, John Mateer's in a different spot now, and he's going to be getting a lot of the good of him. But clearly, I thought the biggest thing, and Peyton, if Matt or Alan, if you want to jump on this, I thought one of the biggest takeaways from this game was we all knew that with John Mateer, you're going to have the boom and bust capability in terms of him being extremely confident with his arm, and then his throwing motion kind of lending itself to a pass or two a game, probably sailing on him. And you hope that it doesn't result in an interception. You hope that it just kind of results in an incomplete pass. You just try again. But the biggest thing for me was he's on a team where if he makes a mistake or two, it doesn't have to damn this team. Like the mistakes OU made. I mean, did they give up points off of a turnover? Did they only give up 3 points off of a turnover?
Yeah.
And then even like the special teams screw ups. Michigan goes on their longest drive after the roughing the punter, and they get all the way down into, I think, the red zone, and they miss that field goal. This defense is good enough. I think we can tell this right now. This defense is good enough that if John Mateer or the offense makes a mistake, we're still fine. And I think that that's a really good revelation to walk away from this game. So whoever wants to, if you agree, disagree, anybody jump on that one.
I think they're still fine up until Texas, because again, I'm holding some priors on the Texas. If Arch really just can't throw the football and his air dot or whatever is like 2 yards, maybe it's a different offense than what I'm thinking of. Oklahoma at this point in time seems to be good enough to be a team they are more talented than, because they have the ability to score. What does that mean when they play better teams? When they play, I want to put Ole Miss in this like equalish team, because I'm just saying Ole Miss or Tennessee, who's been able to score, or if Alabama gets things right, LSU, Missouri, who's playing very well. What happens when they can play teams that can bite back? That will be a case in point for that. Now, Oklahoma isn't helpless like they were last year. Last year they made a mistake. Last year Oklahoma had to play a perfect football game and get a defensive touchdown to win a game. Right? If you couldn't do that, OU wasn't winning. This year Oklahoma can win every game they play. The Michigan game proved that to me. That Oklahoma can any game on this schedule, I now believe Oklahoma can win. Do they win all those games is the different question, but I think can win. That has changed my calculus just ever so slightly.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. The schedule is going to get tougher. And tougher, like I don't necessarily know if Auburn is a better team than Michigan. And what I mean by that is because it's weird with college football. No one plays the same or like similar types of schedules. So you have to factor that in. So Auburn might end up having a better record, but it always happens. There are teams with better records than each other, but you can look at the team with a worse record and say, I think that they're actually better than them. I don't think Auburn, Michigan, I don't know who's better. Auburn is going to present offensive challenges to this defense that Michigan simply could not do. And before we get, I guess, into that conversation, I do want to bring up that it's really interesting to me that one big takeaway from some national folks from this game has been, Michigan didn't do a lot. They didn't do enough, or they didn't ask Bryce Underwood to do enough. And that conversation always astounds me because it's always kind of one-sided, like this is a video game and you're just thinking about it from Michigan's standpoint and just call that play. If they would have just called this play, they could have been able to do something else more successfully. Michigan kind of came out, I mean, Alan, I'll start with you. In my opinion, Michigan kind of came out aggressive, in my opinion, offensively. They did some things that I didn't necessarily expect them to do. I didn't really see them as like, I would have expected them to try to like bully ball us first, but they were like, no, they got Bryce Underwood out, running to the side, trying to find guys wide open, giving him some easy throws here and there. But I think they also quickly ascertained that, their defense is good. This front seven is pretty damn good. And if we drop him back, we will get him killed. And this is a meaningless game because it's not a conference game. We have some aspirations, but not lofty aspirations. So I saw them adjusting to just be like to the fact that OU is defensively very good. We can't do a lot of these things, so we're going to have to like go somewhat into a conservative shell. Maybe I'm wrong in being super optimistic about what I saw, Alan. So if I am, tell me I'm wrong. But that's kind of how I interpreted what Michigan did from an offensive standpoint, at least a bit.
No, you are exactly right. So
yay.
You should feel good. Yeah, no, that's my takeaway on it too, though. Listen, I say this a lot, but we as fans don't see what the coaches see every single day. They know their teams better than us. And when we talk, often when we talk about, they didn't, the game plan was bad. No, they're playing the hand they're dealt. And the way that OU's defense was attacking, I think that the if anything, probably what might have surprised Michigan was that OU didn't just really match Michigan's physicality, but I think that they exceeded it, and they did it early. And when you do that, and you've got a freshman quarterback, and you're trying to avoid him getting killed, in all honesty. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with the Tennessee game last year when people were talking about what happened in the second half. The real issue there was the reason why Tennessee shut down their offense in the second half was because Nico was getting murdered, and he turned it over twice. And that was the only way that OU was going to get back in the game, and it was putting Nico at risk to try to run the score up. So,
and Nico sucks.
Well, there's that, but
he's awful.
Yeah, but no, your point is right. I mean, Moore was putting his team in the best position. I think it had to win that game. I think that if they had tried to open it up more, my guess is that the score looks a lot different than it did, in the wrong way for Michigan.
Yeah, and I mean, Peyton, going back to something you said earlier about, because I tend to agree. Auburn's got a lot of great skill position talent, good offensive line, but Jackson Arnold he's a dink and dunk quarterback, and he's proven to be pretty good at that, and Hugh Freeze has been able to put him in positions to succeed. But along with that, if Arch Manning is going to struggle all the way up into the Cotton Bowl, then yes, OU's secondary won't be truly tested from a vertical passing standpoint until after the Texas game at some point. But I will point out, I don't know if this matters that much. Numerically speaking, Cortland Guillory was tested. If Michigan did try to do anything in the passing game, they did try to go his way. I think I saw the stat after the game when we were doing the post game show for the franchise, that he was targeted 8 times, like his guy was, and he only gave up 1 completion. Now, that all to go back to what I said earlier, what you mentioned. Auburn, Texas, they're going to be challenging, but is the quarterback going to be able to deliver some of these downfield passes to really put a lot of pressure on a true freshman cornerback like Cortland Guillory and therefore the OU secondary? We will find out. But, I mean, it's just really good to know that OU seems to have talent and depth that it can rise to the occasion and just look like they belong on the field. Because that's where you have to start when you're talking about a true freshman, because you can say that for Cortland Guillory. Then offense, you can say that with Michael Fasusi. But not only did they look like that they belonged on the field, Peyton, they looked like they are capable enough to make positive influences in the game and make positive plays. So, I mean, it's just across the board. OU in the offseason has just done such a good job to prepare this team and to help put its best foot forward.
Yeah, I want to steal a line from friend of the pod, Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal, listening to their podcast today. When in relation to Alabama, they're like, "Is Alabama done or are they not done?" Right? And he said, "No, Alabama isn't done. They can still go on to win the SEC." And his point was, it's much easier to get someone to light a fire under somebody's ass than to make them more extremely talented than they are. Like Alabama has an extremely talented football roster, so they've just got more shots, right? Oklahoma is riding that line between what you're saying, they have the depth and the talent, to what Alan's saying. And I want to lean towards more Alan's saying, like, you have to have a prerequisite talent, right? But I'm actually going to lean more to what Alan's saying and look at it more from a, and Alan, please jump in if I'm misrepresenting this, more from a cultural idea of, we brought our lunch to work today and we're just going to beat the shit out of you. That's something Oklahoma really hasn't had in a decade, which that I think is something that will travel a little more than XYZ scheme or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's kind of like an old adage in football, though, but defense and running the ball travels, right? And I think that, to me, honestly, the most encouraging thing I saw out of OU on Saturday was Michigan, for what as bad as they were even last year, right? I mean, they've still kind of cornered the market on being the physical college football program, right? And I think that OU really, OU kicked their ass. I mean, kind of up and down the field when it came to the physical side of things. And that was really, really encouraging to me.
Yeah, I mean, the physicality edge that OU seemed to have, or at least that they were able to match with Michigan. I mean, just the passing offense. And look, I mean, just remember where we're coming from with last year's offense. From below the basement. But Michigan knew what to expect from a defensive standpoint. And yet OU just, whether they needed to like go fast, whether they needed to obviously go slow and milk the clock, they did whatever they wanted. And the biggest thing about the game was OU absolutely influenced that game. And we talked about this on the No Cap recap. They influenced that game good and bad. They did everything that they wanted to. And when they were able to execute it, they had chunk plays, big plays, crucial plays, scoring plays. And then they influenced it in the bad way by allowing Michigan all these extra opportunities that they did not really otherwise gain because they themselves earned it. It was just OU screwing up, like throwing directly to a guy. Like there are two types of turnovers. There are turnovers that are just completely unnecessary, unforced, thrown directly to a guy, and that's what happened. And there are turnovers that are, the prowess of the defense earned it. Hopefully, knock on wood, this OU defense can go get a turnover in Philadelphia. I guess the last thing, guys, with the Michigan game, because the other observation that I think Peyton and I really discussed, and Alan, Matt, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Probably the one of the more optimistic things coming from that game was they played really well. They obviously did not play as well as they could have or should have. And that to me is just a sign of they have a long way to go, but they can still win games even if not everything goes according to plan. That to me is the sign of a good team that can win in multiple different ways, because there are going to be games this year where things are clicking on all cylinders, I'm going to assume, and everything's going to look great. I think you can also probably safely assume that OU probably will lose a game this year because they can't get out of their own way. I think based on what we saw against Michigan, that's probably a safe assumption to have at this point, unless they just thoroughly improve. But with what John Mateer said in the postgame show, Matt, and I'll start with you, about how he recognized that, we played sloppier than them, but it's nice to know that we can win a game without having to play our best brand of football. But we have a lot of work to do. Like having a guy who's a leader like that can make observations like that is so invaluable. I mean, OU had it with Baker. They had it with Kyler and Jalen, all these great quarterbacks. They seem to have it with John Mateer. And that's the difference between, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, and 10-2. Like that right there, to me, is the difference.
Yeah, 100%, man. 24-13, man. It's crazy. I feel like that just does not tell the story. Obviously, OU shot themselves in the foot way too many times on special teams. But I think what Peyton said earlier, I think is kind of the takeaway, right? You now look at the season, or at least the schedule, a little bit differently than you did, I don't know, just 3 weeks ago, right? Where you're looking at the schedule like, all right, from Texas on, I don't know if they're going to be able to win, some of these games, right? At Alabama is going to be almost impossible, right? LSU looks really good. Texas is supposed to be all world, and then the football games get played, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe Texas isn't as good offensively as everyone thought. LSU played well at Clemson, and then just kind of bleh against Louisiana Tech, 23-7. They got the win this weekend. Alabama obviously loses to Florida State, and now OU goes and wins a game where they're shooting themselves in the foot for the middle part of that game, and it's like, all right, hang on a second, now it's time to look at the schedule a little bit differently, because I mean OU's in that spot now. I think that they legitimately can win every game on their schedule, and again, like to what Peyton said earlier, I'm not going to pick that. I don't think that's realistic, but it's nice to sort of change that dial that you haven't been able to like, oh, okay, yeah, OU can win every game on their schedule. Like they absolutely can.
I mean, Alan, was that way too optimistic of me to look at it, to kind of come away from the Michigan game like that, where, oh, they made so many mistakes, they're going to just clean that up with more reps? Because to me, like, if you have the guy at quarterback, if you have leadership, if you have an identity, and you have a guy at quarterback that this team is clearly wanting to follow, and you also, in just 2 games, like Jaron Kanak is a weapon, Keontez Lewis is a weapon, Deion Burks is looking like the guy that we were promised coming into the season last year. Like, we're finding all these positive things out. Like, to me, these are just signs of this team will get better. But I understand that that's not always how it works with football.
My concern there is that it seems like the mistakes that we're talking about here, the penalties or the fumbles, are one that I still just can't get over for all this time. Like, I do see kind of a through line with Brent Venables' teams from the very beginning with those. And so, I was actually thinking about this today as I was writing my column, because like sometimes you have to just accept that teams are going to play a certain way, or there's trade-offs that you have to make, right? And I can sit here and hope that they clean up all those mistakes, the penalties, the muffing punts or kickoffs, but I also kind of think you have to maybe hope that OU's got something above and beyond just playing a cleaner game, you know what I mean, to take it to the next level here. And I say that, like I said, just because I've seen a through line, here. And I think the good thing though is this team is far more capable of like overcoming those mistakes than they've had in a while.
That's a good place to be. There's 2 games into the year, so
In a thing that I've always mentioned, jumping here, I apologize, about teams and the growth of teams and how much better they get throughout the season, and how much I don't really buy into that, and yada yada yada. But I think the team will generally get better, because the one exception to that rule that I've always said is talent and player availability. Yep. And there is a wide receiver everyone said was 1A, Giovanni Gibson, will be returning eventually at 6'2", 211 pounds. That will probably give OU a little more pop on the outside, and let Burks really live in the center of the field. Then, it will change the dynamic of that team, and then potentially OU starts hitting some of these deep shots. To me, that's what really gets OU over the top. Can they hit a bomb or a deep shot that's not up the seam a little more consistently?
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going with that, Peyton. I think that the hope for OU, I'm not as confident that they'll be able to just play completely clean games so much as they're about to add. And like, it's not just Gibson, it's also Eli Bowen in the secondary. Maybe at some point Jade Knock gets going at running back, and then you've got another weapon there. I mean, there are more ingredients that can be added here to make OU an even better team.
Dude, real quick, we don't have to spend that much time on it. Did Bill Bedenbaugh find his 5 in this game? I mean, if you're going to go from left to right, Fasusi, Ozaida, Jake Michaela. Did Troy Everett even play? Did he play a snap?
I didn't see him.
Okay. Fabechi and then Derek Simmons. Because whether it was pass blocking or run blocking, I was very... That's the best an Oklahoma offensive line has looked in, since Dylan Gabriel, right?
Yeah, to me, it's kind of... This is going to be as good as a combo, I think, as you can get. The only exception possibly being sliding Foje in at one of the guard spots. But for right now, this is it for sure.
Good place. I wanted to just point out something. We don't need to spend that much time on it. Because I don't know if you guys have listened to Joel Klatt. I like his podcast, and it's very clear to me that
it's too Colorado coded for me.
It's very clear to me, because at one point Joel Klatt was like one of OU's biggest cheerleaders back in the Lincoln Riley Big 12 days. And since OU and Texas kind of destroyed his conference, the Big 12, it's very clear in how he kind of discusses OU. And in his defense, he's not really had to talk about OU that much over the last handful of years, because OU just simply hasn't been as good as they were back in the Lincoln Riley days from a consistency standpoint. But I listened to his podcast earlier today, guys, and it reminded me of the last time that I ever heard Joel Klatt go hard in the paint about OU or just discuss OU was the OU Texas game going into the 2023 game, where his whole thing was, OU fans, why do you think that just having Dylan Gabriel will be a big difference in this game? You guys lost 49-0. Dylan Gabriel does not make up that much of a difference. And it's like, what are you talking about, you clown? Of course he makes up, like, OU would have still lost. They would have still lost, probably big. But they're not getting beat 49-0, you clown. Like, I'm sorry, OU destroyed your conference. I'm sorry, but please use your brain. You've got a big brain. Use it. Well, then I'm listening to the podcast about from the other day, and he leads off with the OU Michigan game, and he goes for like 20 minutes about Michigan didn't do this, and I'm not kidding. He essentially says they should have run the 75-yard touchdown play a lot more. Like, what? They should have done that. Well, please, enough with that crap, Joel. And then when he gets to OU, the whole thing is, John Mateer ran it 19 times. That's not sustainable. Why is it really, like, please, why is that not sustainable? I don't want that to happen. I am concerned about that as well. But really, why is that a take that people have, that it's not sustainable for John Mateer to be a ball carrier? In an ideal world, yes, OU has running backs that can take the load off in the running game. But this is a Ben Arbuckle offense. This is John Mateer. OU is going to be better if John Mateer is involved in the running game, and they call design quarterback runs. To me, it's just, if he was another quarterback that could also run the ball, I don't know if that's a conversation. But because this is only 2 games into the OU John Mateer experience, and it's only 1 game against a Power 4 opponent, and he came from Washington State, we have to just assume that, he's going to be more brittle, guys, and doing it in the ASCC is just going to hurt. So if you guys didn't listen to it, that's fine. But I guess just from a general standpoint, I don't know why some big national takeaways from this game is, wow, Michigan didn't even try. And they just completely remove any respect for, you guys do realize that they are playing an opponent and they have to adjust to that opponent. And they probably ascertain very quickly, shit, they're good. So we can't just do what we want to do. We can't just do the things that we can get away with in the Big Ten against Iowa and Illinois and Michigan State and Penn State, all these teams that are frankly offensively handicapped half the time in what they try to do. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you can exist in both worlds, Alan. You can be concerned about John Mateer's health and safety and say, ideally, Jade Knott needs to figure it out, or OU's running backs need to be better. But you can also say that, well, OU's better when John Mateer runs the ball. And he's going to run the ball. And I don't pray or hope for any injuries from anybody. So I'm just going to assume that he'll be fine. Like, you can do both those things at the same time, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with Klatt, maybe the way I look at it is he's talking to a Big Ten audience, seeing as he's a Fox employee. But I get where you're coming from. Again, this goes back to, like, why isn't Michigan opening it up? I don't know, Joel. Are you at practice every day? Like, are you seeing what Sherrone Moore sees? I don't know. I mean, the coaches aren't infallible, but, like, you have to admit they've got a greater amount of knowledge and, more insight into the team than anybody else. But to go to your point about Mateer, I think it is a thing, right? I mean, like, OU does need to watch this, because, I think that I look back real quick at last year's stats. The quarterbacks that averaged the largest number of carries in a game last year, per game, in the SEC were like Diego Pavia and, ironically, Jackson Arnold, 15 a game. I mean, when you start thinking about it, those are big numbers, because they're certainly not, against maybe weaker opponents needing to run the ball 15 or 20 times. But, it's a lot. What I worry about with Mateer isn't just, oh no, what if he gets knocked out of the game or knocked out for the season? It's also the amount of punishment he takes down the line will degrade his ability just to play the position. I mean, the ability to hit deep shots, or the ability to move, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I do have concerns about that for him. OU is better, and in a lot of ways, the fact that teams have to plan around the possibility that Mateer will run is a big plus too. So, I think it's a load management thing, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's college football, so we see every other year, like, there's a title contender with a quarterback that factors heavily in their rushing attack, and I never feel like we hear that conversation. But because John Mateer came from Washington State and played a bunch of directional California schools, until he proves it in the SEC, I think we're going to keep hearing that, and then we'll just suddenly not hear it anymore, because he would have done it hopefully against Auburn, against Texas, and he's still upright and healthy. Like, that's how this whole thing's going to go. So I guess I just have to live with it.
Well, it's also something I want to talk about is everyone's like, Mateer this, Mateer that. this is also just what Ben Arbuckle does. Like, he just runs the quarterback. At Washington State, his leading rusher was the quarterback. At Western Kentucky, his second leading rusher was the quarterback. I mean, he just runs the quarterback.
Well, I'll push back there because I think that Cam Ward, he didn't necessarily run him that much. You'll see maybe that Cam Ward led the team in carries, but he
attempts.
But I don't think he had that many I don't think a lot of those were called runs, and in fact, I think he was getting sacked a whole lot too. So,
well, we're OU fans, so every time John Mateer takes off, we're all like, "Oh, please!" But I mean, we would do that with Kyler. We would do that with Jalen Hurts. We would do that with anybody. It's like you don't want to lose your quarterback, but you got to do the things necessary in order to win the game. And Clack kind of mentioned, and credit to OU for doing what they needed to do to win the game. To me, it just seemed like a very backhanded, that's all they could do was run Mateer, and they're so one-sided. It's just John Mateer or bust. And it's like, no, they seem to have a pretty good offensive line. They seem to have a receiver room of with a bunch of talented dudes. They seem to have a kind of a weird X factor weapon in Jaren Kanak. And I think we can safely assume that as the offensive line gets more cohesion, I think the holes will be there. And if the holes are there, then whoever is handed the ball off, whether it be Torrey Blaylock, Jade Knott, Javante Barnes, OU's got a stable of running backs that can run forward. So hopefully that's the case. But we don't need to get too heavily into Temple. They're 2-0. They've dominated their competition. I think it's UMass and Howard. OU's playing on the road. I mean, Peyton, I'll start with you. I mean, is there any concern with this game? And I'll just kind of load the question by reminding everybody that, hey, whenever Brent wins a big game, immediately after, that's when the problems start to show themselves. I mean, Nebraska was his first big game as OU's head coach, looked awesome, and then they lost to Kansas State the next week. And, Kansas State, to their credit, they won the Big 12 that year, so they were a really good team, and OU lost a one-score game, but they no doubt should have won that game with the opportunities that they had in front of them in that game. It was a sign of bad things to come. The next big game he wins is the Texas game, and while they win their next game against UCF, it was very ugly and took the entire game to put away the Knights. And then, of course, the next 2 weeks were losses to Kansas and Oklahoma State. And he won a big game last year, but the team sucked. The season was over. It didn't matter. It was just great for the time being. So I'm not going to consider the Alabama thing. But he won a big game on Saturday, Peyton. So, I mean, is there any concern with OU taking their first road trip up to Philly?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the team will come out flat. I mean, I think that's for sure. It's going to happen. I'm not for sure. I think that's just what's going to happen. You're traveling. It's after a big game. It's going to be tough. I do not think Oklahoma is going to play the entire game flat. I think the difference between the last iterations of this team and this team, and this may just seem like a cop-out, is that the offensive scheme is different. Before it was the veer and shoot, the physicality of the veer and shoot in the zone blocking isn't necessarily something that is carryable one-to-one. It isn't a punishing, back-breaking style of offense to defend against. This OU team is trying to run inside power. They're trying to run the plus run game. They, Kanak and Barnes seem to only be out there to throw their heads into linebackers at times, right? When it comes to the run game and blocking and stuff. And Barnes, honestly, if we're really putting any sort of weight in the PFF grades, is more than earning his snaps on the field with his blocking ability and the way that he's handling that, protecting the quarterback and also lead blocking for him and lead blocking for the wide receivers and stuff like that. So I think that part of it carries over much more than the past, right? Because the past was hurry up and go, and things can snowball. Ben has already shown the ability that he's going to do an 8-minute drive, that he's going to slow the game down, that he's going to put it away, that Oklahoma under Brent hasn't had the ability to do so, either through the offensive line not being there, quarterback not being there. It does seem like everything has coalesced to this season so far, which Brent needed it to, obviously, or else he wouldn't have a job after this season. but I'm not entirely for sure if he's going to handle that. Now, I mentioned before the season started, like, where would I think about something? And it's the exact same thing I said earlier in this show. If Oklahoma can beat Auburn, how do they handle now being 5-0, having beaten Michigan, having beaten Auburn, which are teams which have a rating profile or a talent profile you're going to have to go the rest of the season beating? How do they handle 5-0 going into Red River? That is the bigger question, but no doubt, I think it's going to be kind of like a sleepy first quarter, and then they kind of just like turn it on Temple at the end of that. But I would probably go first quarter under if I was going to be like a Cover 3 podcast. I'm not for sure Oklahoma will be hair on fire right now, getting out of the gate at least.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that because, I mean, that's going to be the true test for this team if they're able to go 5-0. But in order for them to go 5-0, they need to go 3-0. Starting this week. And yeah, like I think I even said as early as on the post-game show on Saturday night, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 13-3 at halftime and then they go off because, it's just, these are kids. They had a big emotional win and they're going on the road in a half empty NFL stadium to play some team called Temple. So, I mean, Matt, what are you thinking with this game?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's what we've kind of seen in the Brent Venables era, like after a big win, right? It's kind of what we've seen. I would love to be proved wrong. I think if everything is equal and human nature is not a thing, then OU is like, no, this is still a prove it week. Still got to go prove it, especially with what happened last year. But human nature is a thing. These are kids, 18 to 22, 3-year-old kids that just won a big game with College Game Day there, So I get it. Traveling up to Philadelphia as well, and it's being played at the Link, right? Like at Lincoln Financial Field.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes.
So that place is going to be empty. Basically, that is not going to be a fully stocked stadium there. So that can play into it as well. There's just like you're gonna have to try to bring your own juice, and I don't know if they'll be able to from the get go. But I think they get there and move on, get to your, and then it's time for Auburn and Jackson Arnold in town.
Alan, I mean, what are you looking for with this game? Like what? Okay, we've already kind of like laid out that we're kind of expecting, and everyone's probably going to feel like this. I feel. I feel like with anybody that has an OU podcast that, there's going to be a level of flatness to this game. Mm-hmm. But what would be something that could come from a game against a team like Temple that would make you go, maybe there is something different to this team. And because they were able to do this, like this is just a very good next step.
Temple isn't the same team that OU played last year at all. I mean, they're a much better team this year. They've hired a better, I don't know if he's better, but they've hired a good coach in Casey Keeler. Offensively, they're scoring more points this year. It's night and day different. If OU goes out and really puts the clamps on them, doesn't give up some kind of, or Keeler hasn't identified some flaw or weakness in OU's defense that gets exploited, that to me is a real good sign. Again, what we're talking about earlier, the discipline stuff, right? Like the penalties on special teams, the muff punts, those are the kinds of things that in games like this make it harder to get margin on a team. And so, if I want to see OU avoid those things in large part so that they just get out and, we can see some of the backups in the second half, pardon me.
I mean, are we at all worried that the team coming off of a big win, going on the road to play a team called Temple, would also be looking ahead to, like, is Auburn good enough to look ahead to? Is it the Jackson Arnold factor? Like, what do you guys think? Like,
no.
Yeah.
No look ahead. It's more of a flat thing, I mean, that's where I'd be far more concerned.
If this is the game,
unless you're looking at Cortland Gilroy's Instagram, if you saw, he's making comments on people saying how Jackson Arnold's going to shock the world in Norman in 2 weeks. So it's I think the players maybe are looking a little bit ahead, but I think it's more you're looking ahead to another test to take, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it's still another prove it thing for Oklahoma, but I don't think Auburn is like I don't know if they're waking up in the middle of the night thinking, can't wait to play Auburn. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, it would be interesting if this would be the game that Jade Knott looks like the running back one for OU, because let's say that he has like 125 yards on, so many odd carries or whatever, has a touchdown or two. So, okay. But then the whole conversation on No Cap Recap and other podcasts and the rest of the week is going to be, well, he did it against Temple, and even if that exists, it's like, well, he couldn't even do it against Illinois State in the one or two opportunities that he had. Couldn't do anything at all with the few opportunities he had against Michigan. So, I mean, I guess it would have to start somewhere. So if I'm going to hope for anything in a game that OU should win comfortably, it would be, please, Jade Knott, please start to look like the guy that we were all excited for when we got you in the portal, because it needs to start somewhere. It can happen at any time. I would rather it start now, because I wanted it to start last week and it didn't happen. So please start now. You guys ready for score predictions? Or do we have any other thoughts? Okay, well, we've got score predictions, and it's sponsored by the Spirit Shop. So Spirit Shop scores, I don't know, like, we need to workshop some ideas to maybe brand it a little bit better, but it's, time for score predictions, sponsored by the Spirit Shop in Norman.
The Spirit Shop has been Norman's source for wine, beer, and spirits since 1976. We feature the biggest selection and best prices in town. Thousands of different wines, beers, spirits, and more. Live in Norman? We deliver all over town, every day, usually in under an hour. Let us bring the party to you. Go to our website and order online at www.thespiritshop.org or give us a call at 405-321-3100. That's 405-321-3100. In from out of town for the game? Come see us at the corner of Main and Berry, just 2 miles east of I-35. Take the Main Street exit and browse thousands of fine wines and hard-to-find bourbon in store.
I'm going to let Matt start.
I already forgot what I told you earlier, but I'm going to go.
I wrote it. I wrote it down.
Okay, cool. I think it was like 41-13, 40-13, something like that.
41-13.
Yeah, probably. It's tough to gauge. Temple scored a ton of points these first 2 weeks, but they did play Howard and UMass. So I don't know much about Howard and UMass. I don't think they're throwing out the defense that OU is on Saturday, but I think it'll be low scoring in the first half. OU finds some stuff in the second half, and hopefully maybe we see Michael Hawkins late in the game. That would be fun. I'm jonesing for some Michael Hawkins just to be like, oh, okay, he's still around, and even if he's just handing the ball off like 20 times in the last 2 minutes, I'm fine with that too.
And that's interesting you brought that up, because Brent was asked about Michael Hawkins today.
That was the very first question. The very first question was about Michael Hawkins.
And I didn't really get a strong impression that, he can play 4 games and they can redshirt him. So, I don't know. I also would like to see Michael Hawkins. I want to see Michael Hawkins with a competent offensive coach and system. I'd be interested to see that. Alan, what do you think is going to happen?
I've got OU 35-17. Again, like I said, I think that Temple's probably a little bit better on offense than people realize. And, it's sleepy spot for the Sooners. I could see OU's offensively just, failing to click early on. And, like I said, my hope is that we see the backups playing the second half. But with that kind of score, I'm not sure if that'll be the case.
Peyton?
I have Oklahoma. Let's get that out of the way first. I do have them covering, the current line, but I have it 34-9. I have them holding Temple out of the end zone, or Temple scores a touchdown and gets a safety. So however we get there, but I think it's 34-9. I think Oklahoma's defense, it will, like I kept saying, defense travels and that aggression travels. I think this will be a pretty much of a snoozer of a game. It would be good for Oklahoma fans to be able to do this, watch it while something's going on, and then maybe keep track of some of the other games going on. But I think Oklahoma wins this pretty handedly and does get some backups in there in the fourth quarter. Not sure if it's Hawkins, obviously, because we talked about the red shirt stuff, but I think you get him in there.
Yeah, sounds like we're more likely to see Neubauer.
Yeah.
No Jet New. Is that his name?
Think so.
Yeah. No Jet New. Come on now. What a cool name. I got OU 48-13. So if you remember from like 10, 15 minutes ago, I think it will be something like 13-3 at half. And then OU just kind of explodes and runs away with it. It would be like par for the course if that be the case. So got OU, all four of us, no surprise, got OU winning over the Temple Owls and looking ahead to what is now a 2:30 kickoff, I think, 2 or 3:30, can't remember, 2:30 kickoff against Jackson Arnold and the Auburn Tigers on Owen Field a week later. So exciting. It's just nice to be, optimistic, hopeful, and excited about OU football because it's been too long, too damn long. But turning the page over to college football, the college football landscape, guys. USF might be pretty good, and we're going to get confirmation if they are good this week. I believe they play Miami, but they seem to have just kind of put the absolute death knell into Billy Napier's time at Florida, and it's just kind of a foregone conclusion probably at this point. Maybe not. Florida can always, they've got a really tough schedule, so if they just win a few games, it's like, oh, well, never mind, because you kind of forget about the USF loss. But I will remind people that with what limited recruiting following that I do, I think Florida has one or two guys committed currently that OU wanted. And if Napier gets canned, hey, just hope that Florida loses some games. I think it might be beneficial for OU. Whether it be Florida specifically, Alan, or anybody else, before we talk about Texas, of course. Anything surprise you this week? I mean, to me, it's just Florida is just absolutely stuck in the mud as a program. They should be better, but it seems like it takes a lot more for that program to be aligned and to be good at the same time.
Yeah, the Florida thing, to me, the story of that game, in all honesty, is the dude spitting and getting ejected with the personal foul penalty on the in a crucial moment in that game. That is the kind of thing, Billy Napier isn't the one that hawked the loogie, but I mean, his players are the ones, how do you let that happen, especially right after everybody saw what happened in the, with Jalen Carter on Thursday night, and 2 days later? I mean, it's mind boggling. And that's the kind of thing that right there just shows you, I mean, Napier, whatever it is, man, I mean, maybe he's a great coach and it's just not translating. Maybe he sucks. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's time for, you just cannot, if you're a Florida administrator, abide by that. Now, he does have a lot of time here left in the season to make good on that, but it doesn't bode well at all for the way that's kind of trending there in Gainesville.
The other big takeaway is I'm old because there's a Grammatica kicking for USF. Yeah. And I was like, what? Oh, darn it. Yeah.
And also Florida just maybe, because Alan, you talked about how these teams, like a Brent team, is a little more penalized because it's make a play. The dogs are going crazy, but maybe this is just a program level for Florida. I mean, the 2020 game in Florida where they've got LSU beat and then the guy throws the shoe, It's just maybe it's just a Florida thing.
DJ Lagway is going to look so good as a Texas Tech Red Raider.
What is he? Is he a sophomore?
Yeah.
True sophomore?
I believe so. Yeah. They went
or you know what? A Miami Hurricane.
Ooh, that's very true.
A Hurricane. Well, hey, maybe if John Mateer knocks it out of the park this year and he says, I'm going to go to the NFL, maybe OU becomes QBU transfer portal destination again. Trust me, I've already gone that far ahead in the future, like just based off of being excited. Like, hey, if Ben Arbuckle is like actually that good, and Mateer does leave, maybe we can get a DJ Lagway or that type of talent that hits the portal. You know, maybe we can turn back into that school again.
Oh man, wait! I did think of one thing that stood out from this past week. Clemson stinks.
Good.
Good.
Yeah, are they down 16-0?
They're down 16-0. I have heard. I heard rumors. But anyway, some of the stuff I saw was like Garrett Riley got his play calling taken away from him in that game in the second half. Now that's just somebody trying to figure out why they got better, quote unquote, better in the second half, maybe. But it's just funny to see that that's where Clemson is right now. So maybe LSU isn't any good because they had trouble with La Tech. So who knows who's good right now? Except Oklahoma, we know they're good.
Hell yeah. That means something, in this young season. It's a lot of teams looked rusty. OU has, they look kind of rusty against Illinois State, but they're one of the few teams that actually answered the bell. It's not their fault. Michigan might not be awesome, but they answered the bell, so that's better than not.
Also, real quick, I got to pipe in here because similar to my DJ Lagway Texas Tech quarterback thing, screw you, Sooners hoops fan Greg. I love Greg, by the way, but he put this out like an hour ago. Oklahoma State head coach Ben Arbuckle, and I was like, okay, dude, what are we doing, Greg? Greg, we need to just calm down, man. Calm down. Go take a lap, man. I love you, Greg, but just calm down, man.
If he gets fired, is he just done, Gundy? Do you think he just gets like a studio job?
Oh, absolutely.
Who's going to hire
OAN? Yeah, they're going to they're going to start their sports.
I saw somebody tweet. I can't remember who, so I apologize. Somebody tweeted out like the Mike Gundy podcast on Outkick is going to hit so hard.
Him and Clay Travis just
it's just so strange to me. It's just so strange to me because I guess I know he's always been a firebrand or whatever, but up to 3 years ago, you'd just be like, yeah, he's probably a top 10 coach. I mean, he's extremely good. Like he did all these things at Oklahoma State, and now every single bit of goodwill is just gone. It just seems wild that he's pissed it all away, I guess, or whatever's happened the last few years.
They want
him out. They want him out of there now, stat right now, and he is their best coach in history.
Watching that last week, how could you not
No, absolutely, God, I completely agree. It was a complete total train wreck. Saying that game was non-competitive is putting it so lightly. That's such an understatement. It was just. I mean, I don't know. They might as well have been playing UCO, like Oregon,
and setting your players up for that. You know what Lanning's going to do when you start a war of words like that, and setting your players up to get humiliated like that, man.
Did you see Dan Lanning's pregame speech to them? By the way,
I didn't see it. No.
Oh my God,
was it Colorado level?
Oh, 100%. It was so good. It was so good. He was basically like, he said something like, well, it's time to fucking cowboy up today. He was like, but something about the Cowboys, the bull doesn't give a fuck. And today we're the bull. I was like, all right, hell yeah, let's go. I was like, let's fucking go, dude.
And that's good. That's good for Dan Lanning. And of course, I'm a fan of his. There was a part of me that kind of wanted him to be our head coach. But that's great that he's able to have awesome psychopath pregame speeches in games where his opponent is, vastly outmatched. Because the thing with Dan Lanning is, okay, in a few weeks you got to go to Happy Valley and play Penn State. Are you going to win that game? Are you going to win that game?
I wouldn't say he's not a big game. I mean, he's won some big games in Oregon. Not all of them, but he's beat some teams.
He has, but I mean, I don't know. If I was an Oregon fan the way I'm an OU fan, which that's disgusting. I would have just bookmarked like, okay, can we please stop having these like awesome pregame speeches against like who gives a shit teams? Can we like just go out there and kick their ass?
Did you see, Matt Rule's leaked halftime speech against Akron?
Yeah.
It's also very similar. Very similar. Yeah. The guy for podcast has a leaked halftime speech. Yeah. With all the curse words bleeped out and everything. It's just very, very funny how they frame all that stuff.
He had backlighting and everything. Weird. Alan, on Saturday, you were watching Texas play. Who was it? Was it San Jose State? It was the blue yellow team, because the black and red team is San Diego State. That's how I always try to remember it. So the score, they didn't cover against San Jose State, but it seems like just by looking at the score, they did what they were supposed to do for the most part. But you had a thought and an observation during that game. Would you like to share it with the rest of the class?
I'm having a hard time coming up with what it was.
Oh, you had mentioned that. I think you had said that Texas's offense was bad or just awful, something like that. You said no. You said that this was an awful look for Texas.
Well, I mean, it was just a bad day for them. Like it just, yeah. I mean, they had people are speculating Arch is hurt. I don't know if I buy that or not, but there's that out there. They had guys going down with injuries. The San Jose State team is not good. And they still, San Jose State turned the ball over, I think 4 times. And, Texas still didn't really ever blow them out. It's just, they're out of sync. It just seemed like a disastrous kind of day. And, it's the kind of thing too, where it looks like they're kind of starting to feel some of the pressure that from all the hype at the beginning of the year and not living up at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like they don't look as cool as people. Yeah, it doesn't look as, they don't look as cool as people thought that they should have looked. From an offensive standpoint, everybody knows that they're talented. Everybody knows that their defense is really good. But Arch Manning not being the second coming has been a little slow out of the gate. For the most part, Sark is starting to act a little bitchy in some of these press conferences when the media dare ask about hey, Arch is clearly grimacing when he's throwing in some of these passes. So is he hurt? And then he says something weird because I think it's kind of a sign of I'm getting defensive. That's the first sign of, this might not go the way that we kind of all hoped. If you're a Texas fan. But they're still very talented. And even if OU goes 5-0 going into the Cotton Bowl, it's still going to be a heavy, heavy lift to just, be in position to win that game over Texas. So, I mean, we're not there yet. But, I mean, Peyton, it's nice to see Texas kind of knock back down to earth after enjoying, to their credit, a good success that they earned. But, I mean, just as another example of the red carpet that was just rolled out for them, the rest of OU's opponents on the schedule right now, they're all ranked. Georgia's ranked. Is Mississippi State ranked after their win against Arizona State?
Not yet, I don't think.
No.
Is anyone else ranked on Texas' schedule?
Georgia, A&M maybe.
A&M and Georgia. That's it. Wow, that's a gauntlet. So, I mean, tough look, isn't it, Peyton?
Yeah. This is something I keep seeing happening on the from the OU sphere and everything like that. And Brady, I'm not trying to do a call out thing. Oklahoma fans in Oklahoma just need to worry about their schedule and playing the games they play. I mean, it doesn't really matter because if Texas navigates their schedule and then gets beat by the only ranked teams they play, then they're frauds. But they get a chance to go 9-3. Right. At that point in time. So it doesn't really bother me one way or another if it would have happened. If OU had the easier schedule last year, I don't think that makes OU a better football team last year because they were horrendously historically bad. I'm more of the taking the hits makes you who you are type of a person, and especially for when it comes to this under Brent Venables. I think last year was, if Oklahoma wants to do the things we want it to do, potentially you can look back and say 2024 was a year that made Oklahoma into a SEC title contender, major playoff run style program because it got its shit together, right? Yeah. Having an easy schedule like that could have been like the dreaded late stage Bob stuff where it's like, oh, we're playing a brand new TCU, we're playing, like the new look Big 12. It's like, oh, we can just kind of coast and still win this conference. I think that's for the long term. This will be beneficial for Oklahoma as they try to do the things they want to do. I'm not for sure how much of a long term having such an easy slate will be good for Texas in the future. That said, winning games is better than losing games, so I wouldn't complain if next year Oklahoma has a really easy schedule.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky thing about having a soft schedule is you have a soft schedule because the majority of the teams on your schedule are not as good as you and you are favored most of them, but there's probably one or two games that, okay, you've got to win that one. That's the tough game. You got to win that one. And if you got a easy schedule and you cannot win the big one, that's a problem. And I don't know what this stat would even mean, but if Texas, wins the rest of their games going into the Cotton Bowl, OU gets to the Cotton Bowl, and OU beats Texas, do you guys realize that if I get this right, Texas's last 6 losses under Sark, if they lose to OU, were to 3 teams: Washington, OU, or 4 teams: Washington, OU, Georgia, Ohio State. Because they've lost to Ohio State twice. They lost to Georgia twice. The year before, the other game that they had lost was Washington and OU. They had lost to Washington in the Alamo Bowl the year before. So if that happens and you lay out the rest of every other game that they've played under Sark, they have essentially just beaten all the crappy teams on their schedule. But anytime they play somebody that is actually good or just as good or capable as them, they lose. There's a long way to go before OU can beat them, but that is in the cards. I just wanted to lay that out there and let people know what's in my head. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Go check out Patreon tomorrow. I'll have Ryan from Owls Daily on for the opponent preview. Again, one of the few podcasts who's giving you a opponent preview for every single opponent, regardless, large or small. We even have somebody for Kent State, man. We're rocking and rolling over here on the Patreon.
And you got the film.
Sorry, I was going to say on the free side also, I'll have my column up for my column up tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah. And Peyton's got the film review started last week. Looking forward to the film review for Michigan, where might have some a new special thing involved with it, but I'll let you just put that out there once you're ready with it. So go patreon.com/throughthekeyhole, keyholepod.com. That's the free website. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those fun places. Hopefully you guys liked the side-by-side video I made of Mateer and Mayfield. It was all I could think of when Mateer made that play was that looks exactly like that throw to Michael Jones against Ohio State. And I want to believe. So thank you, everybody, for sharing that. Helps out the show. Thank you again to our sponsors. Thank you again to everybody that listens, either for the first time or for the 1,000th time. We truly, truly appreciate you all. But for Matt Burton, Peyton Guthrie, Alan Kenny, myself, Brady Transman, everybody, thank you for listening to Through the Keyhole. Until next time, Boomer.
Suitor.